Here we go. Intervals. Can you tell me what an interval means? What does that word mean? Go ahead.
The distance and pitch between two notes.
How did you know that? Because it's written on the top. That's right. An interval of music is the distance between two notes. But, like, it's not just a musical definition either. It could also be used in measuring. You could measure time, right? From the interval within a minute, 60 seconds, from the start point to the end point. Or if you're measuring a runner from the start line to the finish line, that the interval is between that. And music is the same. What's great about this, this first page, it lays it out in pretty simple detail. So I remember telling you at one point there are two aspects to measuring a musical interval. There is a quality and there is a quantity. Another term for quantity might be how much, right? So usually when you measure a thing, how much, you have a number. And that's what they're looking for here. They're looking for quantity on this first one, and they're looking for a number. And it's super, super simple to figure that out. You just have to count from note head to note head. It gives you a little bit of like harmonic and melodic things. So if you like smack in the middle, you've got that. If you remember the definition of a melody, this a series of single pitches that add up to a recognizable whole. So that means like the pitches sort of seesaw. They're not played together, they're played in sequence. So this is an example of a melodic interval. They don't happen at the same time. So if I was going to ask you for a quantity, if I was going to ask you for a number for this interval, you would just have to count from note head to note head. That's easy. This is a C, C is 1, D is 2, E is 3, F is 4, G is 5. We call this a fifth. And you say it like a grade in school. If you have one day you have like a 6-year-old at home, they might be a first grader. So that's why you say it like that. This is a fifth. Also, this is a fifth. Though it's harmonic because it happens at the same time. They're stacked up. It happens at the same time. This is also a fifth. On this particular page, you will see both melodic and you will see harmonic intervals. And don't let that throw you. You just count from note head to note head. That's it. Sometimes you have to move to the right a little bit to get to that note head. Sometimes you can move straight up or down to get to it. Also, it works backward. Like, what is this interval from the top down? Well, G is 1, F is 2, E is 3, D is 4, C is 5. Oh, it's still a fifth. So you can count from either direction if you wish. I always just go from the bottom up, and I think that's best practice, though I can't point to why exactly. I just always looked at the bottom up, and I think you'd be wise to do that, especially like when we need to fast forward 4 months into the school year. So look at directly underneath that. Seconds, fourths, sixths, octaves. If it goes from a space to a line, then it's got to be one of the, or vice versa, a line to a space. It has to be one of those. I've never really found that useful. I've always just liked counting note head to note head. Likewise, odd number intervals, like you do with that what you will. Maybe that's helpful to you. I never found it helpful to me. So look at exercise 1 and tell me what number would go along with that, what the quantity would be. Go ahead, Michael.
Fourths.
That's a fourth. That's correct. Have to be. That is in fact a fourth. How about the next one, Robert McCall?
Second.
Second. That's true. So go ahead and work just exercise 1, and then we'll rattle them off in a moment.
I'm still confused. I only knew the first one because it's literally the same one I heard before.
Oh, jeez.
I'm still confused now. Is it how many lines is between them?
You just count from note head to note head. So that would be.
Is there a sixth or no?
On the third one?
Yeah.
Yes, number 3 there is in fact sixth.
Oh, okay. I see. What do I do with four?
The fourth one?
Yeah.
count from note head to note head.
30.
That's a third. So you guys keep working.
Are these your theory people?
They are. They are theoretical people.
Theoretical people. Mikey,
Hello.
you're a music theory person? Really? Good for you.
We're gonna look that over.
No. All I'm gonna have Even House do.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
a little different. That's the way it will be.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the show they're doing.
Oh, I
You
get
get it?
I get it.
And this is actually the act with the names.
That's really, really clever.
And then on the inside, we'll have the act with people we're playing.
Oh, that's really funny. Wait, was that a Mamma Mia blurb in there?
Yes,
Yeah,
I just threw that in there, just, because usually you put the list of the shows on the back, and then I usually down at the bottom, I put something for the spring, and so I figured I'd put it in there.
I like that. That's good.
You know, I think it's good, actually, the
Really
one,
clever.
the one that first, allured me to was Liam, that, the freshman that's in it, Liam Carneth, yeah, he's really good.
Yeah, he's a bright kid.
Yeah, he's the one who first alluded to it, and then Jeff knew about it, and so we talked about it, and so,
That's really funny. I dig it.
I think it's just kinda cool, you
I
know,
do too.
to be different.
Wait till you guys see this show.
What is
The
it?
one act play that goes wrong.
That's what it's called.
That's what it's
It's
called.
kind of like religion class last year, everything went wrong.
Oh,
Right, Mike?
no. Oh, no.
All right.
All right, thanks, Father.
Thank you.
All right, let's rattle them off. So we had a fourth, a second, a sixth. Let's start with the next one.
Is it a third?
It's a third. One after that.
Eighth?
Eighth or octave. I would take either. But yep, next.
Fifth.
Fifth.
Unison?
Yep, or a first or a one. I would take either. Lastly,
Seventh?
seventh. That's it. Okay, see, the numbers are not particularly difficult, are they? All right. How about the second one down? You have to tell me whether they are melodic or harmonic. And if they're melodic, write an M. If they're harmonic, write an H. Do you remember how to tell if they're harmonic or melodic? Do you remember?
Yep.
Did you do this already?
Yep.
All right. Should we just rattle them off?
Yep.
M H H M M H M. Do you want to hear that again? Great. Next one, you have to write the interval that they give you. So a second, a fourth, a fifth, a unison. I want to like show you some rule of thumb here when it comes to like writing music. If you want to make two notes happen at the same time, and let's just say, well, it actually says harmonic, so like they have to be like one on top of the other. But like, how would you do that with a second? Or how about a first? How could you do that with a unison? I just like make that darker like
You put
that.
them next to each other, right?
You put them next to each other like this. So like you would want them, you'd want like the ends touching. For a second, however, like, well, how the heck could you do that? Would you like draw one of these and then draw it like that? Like that looks confusing as all get out. So like you can't do that. Don't do that. You put the lower one to the left, upper one to the right, and make them touch. That's how you do that. Yes, sir.
So you count from the first one, not the
Yes.
Okay.
From
I
from
confused
the first, the bottom note is number one.
Okay.
Yeah, most people. So that's why I say from note head to note head.
Yeah. Okay.
Harmonic.
Harmonic. Okay, do you remember what that means?
Yeah. Let's see. How do you do the unison one again?
You put them right next to each other and they're touching. Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Does anybody disagree with that?
No, sir. I do not agree at all.
You don't agree at all?
I don't disagree.
Oh, okay. Understood. Hey, congratulations. Guys, the numbers are the easy part. They really are. The numbers are the easy part because, like, here, let's do this. Don't write this in. Okay, I just put some crazy stuff on that. What would the number for that be?
The number for it?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it still be the same thing?
It would be the same thing. That's a trick question. It's the same. Well, it isn't a trick question. That's actually just a legit question because you count from note head to note head.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this particular interval is enharmonic to this. Hold on, I'm really gonna have to think about this because this makes my brain hurt. Enharmonic, so A flat. Be this. Oh. These two things would sound exactly the same on the keyboard. These would be enharmonic. This is a fifth. This would be some sort of third. When I say some sort of, there are some other factors into it. The number, the quantity has more to do with, I don't know, I would say the name, but like the flavor of it is determined by the quality. So, like, anybody could buy vanilla ice cream from Tops. You can get the store-bought brand Tops vanilla ice cream. And it's fine, it's still vanilla ice cream. Or you can splurge for, like, the really, really good stuff at some sort of, like, fancy ice cream shop. It'll cost you $80 for a half pint of their really, really good vanilla. It's still vanilla ice cream. Very different flavor to it, very different quality to it, if you will. So that's the next part that we have to handle is the quality. So this is where I want you to just like, don't write anything down. I just want you to like soak in what I'm about to tell you. You already know a bunch of qualities. We did it with ear training. I didn't explain what it meant at the time because I didn't want it to confuse you. I wanted to introduce it to you without, like throwing the whole kitchen sink. Some of those terms are called major. Some of those might be called minor. Do you remember what some of the other ones are from ear training?
Wait.
Remember, like happy birthday, major second.
Um,
Go ahead.
Perfect.
Perfect. That's correct.
Augment.
Augmented. Put a little plus. I'll explain what that means. Did I give you any more? I don't think I did.
No, you did not.
What'd you say?
An E? No.
No, I'm not really sure what you're talking about. There is another one called diminished.
Oh, did he teach us that? I think he told us about
He might have, yeah, he might have. Now, there were 8 different intervals that I gave you. The perfects were 1 or unison, 4, 5, and 8. Those were called perfect. The other ones were either major or minor. So these are like sort of modifiers to the interval. By the way, when you've diminished something, you've made that interval, ready for this, smaller. When you augment something, you make it bigger. One of the most popular plastic surgery that people go through these days is called a lip augmentation. There are some people who like go to plastic surgeons and they're looking for bigger lips, so they get lip augmentations. You understand? All right, now there's this dance that goes all the way back to the 60s. Believe it or not, I was not alive at that time, but I've had people who teach me who were alive at the time. This dance was called the Watusi. I've never seen it, I've never danced it, I wasn't alive back then. I've tried to look it up on YouTube, and there's a very old video of Wednesday Addams dancing the Watusi. And what I remember from what my professor taught me, though I cannot confirm online, was that the Watusi, they did something with their hands like this. I don't know the dance. I'm not going to dance it for you now because like there would be wailing and gnashing of teeth. But I always think about the Watusi this way when I am taking an interval and I'm making it bigger. Let's say I put a flat on the bottom note. I have now made that interval bigger, haven't I? I've augmented it. Or maybe I started with a minor interval, like a minor sixth, for example. And if I lower that bottom note, I have now made that interval larger, making it a major. You see, like, this is less, this is more. And I'm going to give you some of our intervals based on. Go ahead.
The higher the interval, does it mean it's like the higher pitch or lower pitch?
The bigger the interval, the larger the jump from the bottom note to the top note. You know, because like big and small is a relative thing. Marcus is a really big dude here at St. Francis, and he's going to go play at Georgia next year against also very big people. You know, like, so on the Georgia football team, are there big people there? Sure, you know, or some dudes smaller, but like they're much huger next to us regular folks? Like, yeah. So big and small is like a relative thing.
So we had the one augmented in our year training.
Yes.
How did that work? I don't know off the top of my head, but like how did it work? Because you said like normally like if you have a minor and you augment it to major, so how do you just have augmented?
Oh, well, okay, so it depends on the interval. I'm going to give you, and I'm going to give you like the baseline for this. I'm going to write a C major scale, but I'm going to keep the C on the bottom the whole time and I'll write them harmonically. So here's the first one, second one. See, I'm just writing a C major scale. There's my half step. But I'm going to keep that initial, I don't know, call it like a fundamental pitch on the bottom. C to B, and then C to C. So you're going to have to trust me a little bit on this, but I think that we can put some numbers to this, can't we, for the quantity? Can't we? Not sure to smile if we can. Like count from note head to note head. Ready? 1. This is some sort of first or unison. This would be a second, third, fourth. That's a fifth. You can do the math if you really want to. 6th, 7th, 8th. Do you remember the intervals that I told you were perfect?
Eighth?
The units.
1, 4, 5.
The 8th, okay. It's true, so that's a perfect 8th. I heard unison in there
Oh.
somewhere. That
Perfect fifth.
perfect 5th, P5.
Perfect.
Perfect 4th. That's it. So those are the perfects. And this is all just based off of a major scale. So that's pretty easy, right? Well, it gets even easier from there because in a major scale, the rest of them are major. Ready?
That makes
Yeesh.
That makes sense.
So what are the 4 perfect intervals?
1, 4, 5,
1, 4, 5, 8.
1, 4, 5.
What are the major intervals in a
2,
major?
3, 4,
2, 3,
6,
7.
2, 3, 6, 7. Now, will there be a time in your music theory career here where you say, "Oh, yeah, it's supposed to be a perfect 7th," and like, and I'll remind you, like, there's no such thing as a perfect 7th. Like, is that going to happen to you? Of course it is. Am I going to be mad? No. But I will correct you every time, and then eventually get tired of being corrected. You'll get it set in your brain. But from here, you can actually write any of the other. Let's take, I don't know, major third. We can modify this now with sharps and flats and turn it into something different. Which one do you guys want to affect? Top note or bottom note? Top note. What do you want to do with it?
Diminish it.
I heard raise. So let's raise that top note. How do I raise an E natural? Sharp. Before I did that, this was a major third. I do the Watusi. I raise the top note. It's not a 4th, it's still a 3rd. So if I take a major interval and I enlarge it, I've now made it augmented. So this is look at that. An augmented third.
So
Ooh.
is that like the same for like if you diminished it? If you had like a minor, you diminished it, it would be a diminished third?
Sure, let's do it. I don't have a minor third up here, so we're gonna have to do a little bit of a little bit more work to it. So right now this is a major third. How can I make it a minor third? There are 2 ways. So I have 2 notes. How do I reduce this
You
interval?
can make it, you can make Wherever the bottom note is,
Uh-huh.
sharp.
I'll raise the bottom note. So that is now a minor third. How could I reduce this interval even further?
Top note flat.
Top note flat. It was a major third, then I threw a sharp on it, made it a minor third. Then we threw a flat on it, and now it's a diminished third. Ooh, yes. Here is something that I probably will never have you actually do in the real world. Put a double sharp on this now.
And harmonic. Okay, jeez.
That is now a doubly diminished third.
Doubly.
Yeah,
doubly
that makes my brain hurt.
Doubly.
That-
You
you want to know something funny? Here, it gets better.
Could you do double
These-
flat and double sharp, or would that just be?
These two intervals right here are enharmonic. They sound exactly the same. They have different names. They have different qualities. I don't know, maybe that's where my ice cream analogy. I was like, they don't taste the, like it tastes the same. But so anyway, that's where that analogy falls short. Okay, so that was easy with C major, wasn't it? Because C major is no sharps, no flats. Super simple. By the way, you have a really great circle of fifths in this packet. I would highly recommend it. Let's do this.
He also said
Mhm.
the I remember him saying something about the circle of fifths is like fourths backwards or something like that. Something backwards. I forgot. What he
It's
said.
fourths backwards.
or something like that. That's
Yeah,
what
it
he
was
said.
like all perfect.
Yeah.
Let's maybe.
I think it was fourths. He was like the circle of fifths backwards is like fourths or something like that. I don't know. I don't know what he was saying. I just remember it.
There might be something to that. I'd have to think about it a little bit. The circle of fifths is like a mystery. Like there's always something new I'm learning about it. Whenever I get like, students in here, you guys see patterns sometimes that I've never seen. But other musicians like elsewhere, like I don't know, we should all just get together a big circle of fifths meeting one day. Like we'll have pizza
Everyone
served.
sits in a circle.
Okay. Let's say I want you to identify that. The number will be really easy because you're just counting note head to note head. So I always suggest starting there. What number would you put with this? Is it a second? No.
A flat.
No, I'm looking for a number.
Oh, a number.
I agree. Go ahead, Michael. Should we count note head to note head? D is 1, E is 2, F is 3, G is 4, A is 5, B is 6, C is a 7th. This is a 7th. That was step 1. That was the easy one. You now have to look at the major key signature of the bottom note. What note name is this?
E.
Nope.
D.
D is correct. Right? It's below every. It's not on every, it's below. What is the major key signature for D major?
Major key.
Well, so you're looking at your circle of fifths. How many sharps, how many flats in D major?
D major.
Two.
There are 2 sharps. What do they have to be?
F and C.
Fat cats. If you remember your order of sharps, everybody remembers that fat cats get down in every bar. So you see that there are 2 sharps, F sharp and C sharp. Well, will you look at that? C sharp's right there. So remember, in the major scale, the 7th was a major 7, wasn't it? So congratulations, you have now identified that interval.
Wait, what did you just write down?
M for major. Let's do another one. Let's stick with, I don't know, how about this? Let's say I have you identify this note one day. Ooh. All right, well, the number's simple. What's the number? Yeah, it's a 4th. Okay. What is the key signature for the bottom note? Well, it's D again. So how many sharps, how many flats?
2.
2. What are they?
F and C.
F sharp, C sharp, fat, cat. Did I mention G in there at all?
Nope.
No? So G natural makes sense with D major. So what kind of 4th would that be?
Perfect.
Boom, look at that. How about this one? We'll stick with the same bottom note. but I'm gonna throw you guys a curveball.
Oh dear.
Oh dear is right. What's the number? Sixth. All right. What's the key signature for the bottom note? Two sharps, fat cats. I didn't mention G in there or a B in there at all, did I?
No.
So if it was a B natural, it'd be a major sixth, but it's not. That's a B flat. So when I reduce my interval, that turns into
Perfect six.
no,
Minor
nope,
sixth.
look, minor sixth. Someday my prince will come. Uh-oh. Something is happening out there. Does this tell me your sponge rate right now? How much of this do you think you have soaked in?
Yes.
70%.
I'll tell you, if you 70%, I will take.
90-ish.
You're 90-ish.
90-ish also.
90s. When I say sponge rate, I mean like sometimes, like you're just completely saturated, you can't take anything in. But I guess what I really mean to say is like, how much of this material do you think you have absorbed?
70%.
70%. Okay, 70% of this. So look, here's how I found like education works best. You tell me if I'm wrong. And this is especially true in math class, a class that I did very poorly at in high school. Like, you learn a thing by the teacher sort of like explaining it. The teacher demonstrates the thing. The students sort of get handed it, and there's like mutual practice back and forth. Then the teacher hands the whole thing off to the kids struggle, and then they come back with questions, and the teacher like sort of reinforces it a little bit, and then hands it back, and then that process goes on for a little bit until like you don't have to like even bring it back to the teacher. Do you find that you guys learn best that way? No. How do you learn best?
I don't know. I just don't feel like for me that's the way I learn because I feel like it's like repetitive and like after a while I'm just like whatever.
Well, it's super repetitive.
Yeah.
That's not wrong, because like we're working on the same concept, but like repetition is
Yeah.
how the brain works. You build habits into it. Go ahead.
I feel like the best way I learn is knowing the method to do it, and then after. Well, eventually when I learn the method, like over and over again, that's how.
Over and over again. Yeah, I agree. And it's not like me just like bringing in a dump
Yeah.
truck and like unloading all of the content into your brains to say, "No, good luck, have fun."
Yeah,
You
it's
know.
just like.
So there's like a real balance there. What do you think, Robert?
I don't know. I feel like I kind of learn best mostly with like any method, but I think the repetition does help.
Yeah, and it's not just like practical. Like you will do this too, So like it does get handed off to you. Where, and then if you have questions, like I'm the expert in the room. I do believe that there's like a fad happening right now in education with something called project-based learning. Have you heard about this? Yeah, it's where like here are all the tools. Here's the problem. Good luck. Some kids like really thrive in that. I never did. I would have to be like in science, for example, maybe they'd call it like a cookbook lab where like follow step 1, follow step 2, follow step 3, and you perform it and you answer questions. I think I work better that way, and I think most kids do too, because it kind of be overwhelming when you're just like, here's a bunch of beaker stuff, here's a bunch of glass with chemicals or something. I don't know, but I hope they are okay.
That sounds
They
like
are really hitting the brakes. This how like if I just handed this to you, like you can't do that.
No.
So on the agenda for the next few days, especially because I won't be here tomorrow,
Wait, so
I'm hoping that Mr. Dragoni will be here and he can sort of like help you with this. But if not, you will be practicing this, and maybe between the 3 or 4 of you, you can reference this YouTube video, and you can sort of figure out some of this stuff. And you might struggle like at first, like all difficult concepts. Like it's a lot to take in, but the more you chip away at it, the more like you incorporate it, and I think you guys will be okay. So yes, sir.
what is like grand jury? Like, what do you do here?
Oh, I'll tell you in a second. But I'm gonna end this video